Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Festival of the Unexplained. I hope you're having an amazing evening, well, an amazing day so far. We are coming to the close of our day one of our virtual festival, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us, who's contributed, who's asked questions. But we've got an amazing couple with us tonight, but I'll introduce them in just a second. But we've got a great, fabulous lineup tomorrow as well, so be sure to come in and see what we're all about tomorrow. And I can see the comments are already starting, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce this amazing couple who I've been so excited to speak to today. They are renowned over in the US, and they're a duo as well, which sometimes you don't really see that in the paranormal. You usually see mediums and mediums, but you'd never really see a medium and a psychic artist. So I am pleased to welcome Michael and Marti Parry to the show. So thank you for joining us, both of you.
Thanks for having us on. Yeah, we'll have a good time. Thanks, Joe.
I know it's been such a crazy day today, and I don't know if you've been following any of the festivals so far, but we've had the likes of people from Italy. Yeah. We've had Stephen Williams from the Memphis, Tennessee. He's from the Memphis Ghost Investigators, and we interviewed him earlier. So I'm just absolutely honoured to have you on the show with us.
Oh, well,
it's nice. Yeah, nice to see an international group.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I caught the Italian guy. I was gonna do on my Italian,
which he doesn't do good.
Which he doesn't do very good.
You're talking to me, yeah.
I know nothing.
You do a great Godfather impression.
Oh, no, he's Spanish. Anyway. That's right, he was Spanish.
So let's kick off. Basically, Marti, you're a psychic artist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how long have you been drawing for?
Oh, it was what,
97.
1997 was my first one, and it took me a while to get confident enough to do it constantly. But the first one was in 97. How it happened was that Michael knew of an English artist that did the same thing, and Coral Polge. Yeah. You might have heard of her. She was very famous in England, and he told me, because he knew I was psychic, but I didn't hear it awful lot, but I was also an artist, so he thought I should.
This is why I love seeing the two of you at the same time.
So he kept telling me that was what I should be doing. So one day I sat down while he was gone, and I drew this older man. It took me a long time to draw it. And when he came home, he didn't recognize it. So I put it on the coffee table, and just so happened that we had a small meditation group that night, and this young girl came in first, and she picked up the picture off of the coffee table and said, "Oh my God, that's my boss that was murdered a year ago to the day."
Wow.
And she brought over the picture the next day of him, and it matched exactly.
It was out in the newspapers. He lived actually just less than a mile away. He was like a multi-millionaire, and he'd been murdered in his business, and she was like friends with him. He was like a second father to her. So
wow, but that's amazing in itself, isn't it? And we kind of touched upon.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
But we kind of touched upon before we started to broadcast, whereabouts you were from, Michael, and you're from Fulham, just outside of London, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
What sent you to the US?
Funny. Well, there's a man that I hang on a second, let me get round up here. There's a man I studied under that was a medium. His name was George King, and he had a place in Fulham. In fact, it was about half a mile from where I was born and where I lived, and where I was living at the time. And so I studied under him, and he had a place in Los Angeles. And when the earthquake happened in '94, it damaged the properties really bad. And they're not
like a spiritual center.
It's a spiritual center in Hollywood. And so I offered to come out and work on it because I did construction work. So he said, yes, come out, I want you out. So I came out and I just stayed as long as I could to work on the properties. And I got friends with a lady that I've known about that was part of the organization. And she had a friend and I'd tag along. So like she was an artist. So I tagged along with her. And she'd say, oh, my friend's having a party. Do you want to come along? I said, yeah, I'll go with you. And that guy called my friend, but he also called Marti up.
We'd been friends for years.
But Marti and my friend had never met. So he's the culprit here.
It was because of him that we met.
It was because of him that we met, really. When I thought about it, I thought, yeah, he's the catalyst here.
And he had these strange Hollywood parties.
Yeah, he had this weird house, like it was like a strange house. Anyway, that's how we met. We got sat next to each other, got talking, and that was it. It was, you know.
I knew immediately. Took him
two
two weeks to call me, though.
They say, don't they? They say when you know for sure.
Yeah,
so
I knew, but I mean, I'd have to drop everything, you know. It was like she didn't want to go to England. So it's like, wow, blimey, you know, I'd have to start all over again, you know, completely. And when you do come to America like that, you're nobody, trust me. Unless you've got lots and lots of money, then you're somebody. But
yeah.
So that's how we met. And we weren't doing this at the time.
So he was here for a 3-month visa, and I wouldn't let him go.
Oh, that's beautiful anyway in itself, isn't it, really?
Yeah, well, you know, but you were talking about earlier on how you met your husband, right, Mark?
No, he's not my husband just yet, but yeah, I'm working on that one.
You heard it from the medium.
When I was 20, which is just a few years ago, I met one of my friends was a very good medium, and on my birthday, we went up and we had a little shot of whiskey and we sat down, and he went into a trance, and he said all this stuff to me. He didn't remember it, what he said, but he told me, oh, you're going to live in America. You're going to live in Los Angeles. You're going to become extremely psychic when you're older. I was already psychic, but he said, oh, you're going to become extremely psychic. And I was like, oh, okay. And he told me all this stuff, and it all came true. But it was, 20 years later, it all happened.
Well, what about the French medium?
Oh, yeah, blimey. So just before I came out to America, I went to, in England, they have the Festival for Mind, Body, Spirit.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my friend, who is one of my masters, the man I studied under, he's one of his main pupils, and he owns that.
Wow.
He's the owner of that festival. And so I went to the festival one day just to have a look around. You know, I was in one of those places where I needed to know what to do next. So I sussed out all the people there, and I figured this one French lady was cool. I thought, yeah, she's good. So I sat down with her, and off she went. Oh, well, I see and she said all this stuff. And she said,
yeah, you should have brought your little puppet up for that one.
I should have brought my little French puppet up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's jabbering on about all this stuff that I do not understand at all. I mean, it's ringing true, but I don't. She's telling me about this woman that I've had many lives with. She's an artist. She does caricatures, like portraits, she says. She, blah, blah, blah. You've had many lives.
Something about cartoons.
Oh, yeah. I see all these cartoons everywhere, she said. There's this car. It's red. it has no roof. It has fenders, she says.
Like an old-fashioned car.
She's thinking it's old, but it's new. I don't understand, she said, because she's like, I don't know any cars with fenders,
it's got a
right?
tire on the back.
And it has a tire on the back. She's here. I draw it. She actually drew it on her flyer, which I still have. And so she told me all this stuff, and I thought, well, I don't know what that means, but anyway. And then the earthquake happened, and I ended up out here, and she pulls up in a red Jeep Wrangler when we went out with the roof off.
Wow. You couldn't have written that, could you?
Well, no, you couldn't make that up. I was like, wow. As soon as I saw it.
And,
I mean,
and then when he came to my apartment, I've got all of these Donald Duck pictures all over.
Big posters of Donald Duck around the apartment. And I went, oh my God, that's the
cartoons.
Yeah, you know, and it all sort of fell into place. And I thought, blimey, this is it. You know?
Plus, I used to make cartoons for a series of greeting cards that I did
when she was younger. So she showed them, and I was like, blimey. And she wasn't. Now, this was the tricky bit. My friend that took me to meet her was also an artist, a portrait artist. She traveled around the US painting famous people. So I was originally thinking maybe it's my friend. Yeah. So I was in a bit of a quandary because I thought, wow, she's a portrait artist. So, and Marti, I knew she said that I saw what she'd drawn and that, but I didn't know how much of an artist she was. And one day she says to me, I'm better than your friend. I said, oh, really? I said, really? She said, oh, yeah. Well, she is. Anyway, so my friend's gone over now. She's on the other side. But so that's what happened. And Marti started to paint, you see, as soon as and that's where it all developed. And she was painting, you see. So what happened was, you see, sometimes you have to open people up, like they don't know it's there. So this is for you lot out there that doubt yourselves. She was looking for a job. She was an accountant. She was crying one day. I came home and I was working. I was doing my construction work in Hollywood and carpentry work. So,
I know people think it's weird. I was an accountant and an artist. They don't seem to go together, but I always called it creative accounting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be creative in accounting, though, don't you, sometimes?
Sometimes.
Yeah. So basically, I came home. She was crying. I said, what's wrong? You know, and she said, well, I can't get a job. Nobody responds. I said, so what do you really want to do? If you could do anything, what would it be? She said, I'd be an artist. I said, okay. So I went out, bought a bunch of canvases, paints, brought it all home. Go on then. Well, it sat there. So I started painting the backyard because I used to paint. I was an artist. So I started painting the backyard, but it was all boring. So I got halfway through it and she said, can I finish it? I said, no.
You paint, not that you painted the backyard, you painted a picture of the backyard.
Oh, thank you for explaining. Thank you for explaining.
Everybody can just see you going out there with these.
Yeah. No, they didn't think that at all. But so, can I finish it? No, do your own.
No, you're too long.
No. Oh, go on then. Go on, you can finish it. Bam, bam. One a day. She was popping these. It was like got the floodgate open. You know what I mean? And after that, I said, I just kept thinking she had to do something really unique, spiritual. So she'd paint a picture of like a field of flowers. I said, why don't you just stick a little gnome in there or something, you know? So she did. And you'd have to really look to see it, you know, because a lot of artwork is subliminal.
Yeah, it is. And you have to really look at it, don't you?
My friend, we did an experiment years ago, and he had this god-awful picture on his wall, but behind it, he put a picture of the Lord Babaji, which is this great saint in India. Yeah. You know? Behind it, everybody would come in the room and say, wow, what a cool picture. And we'd laugh because we knew they were seeing the picture behind it.
Yeah.
So I said to her, maybe you're going to do something like that, you know. And anyway, so this is what she ended up doing.
It's amazing, though, to be honest. And Jessica is obviously saying it's wonderful to watch and listen to three wonderful people. And she's saying, you know, just how lovely it is. And Tasha's also said it's awesome that the universe has decided that you two should meet. So let's carry on to the investigation side of things.
Yeah.
And how you got involved in that, because I know you've done psychic investigators, you've done quite a lot of TV, but also radio shows as well. So how did you get into investigating together?
Well, everything came to us. We didn't seek it out. So like we got into the paranormal field because we were doing it was a long journey figuring out how to do this. Of course, I was doing the construction, so the spirit people said to me, stop doing what you're doing and do this. I said, oh, that's a big lift. I said, because I'm tool-time Tim. I like going past the tool drooling over the tools, you know, because I just love doing construction work.
You still have a garage.
I still got all my tools, you know. I like doing what I was doing. And but anyway, I quit one day. I said I'm done. We have to do this. But then how do we do it? How do we do this? So we found the festival places, and we'd get a card table, and we sat there all day with signs. You know, how do you show people what you do?
Exactly. It's so hard, isn't it?
So we started off doing that, and then the first one
was proof positive that we got invited to do, wasn't it? That was
no. That was I can't remember the order, but so we got a website. You know, we had to do local stuff. We traveled all over the place doing these little shows and stuff, and then we met people and we did little groups. So I decided to do groups and see how that went, you know. First one we did was at our home, and then we did them at some of the festivals. We'd have an hour, people would come in, then and then we'd meet people, and like we met this gal. She's crossed over now. She introduced us to her friends in a paranormal group, and they got into it, and we hadn't really explored that whole side of it. Really, we're doing this to help people. This is why we do what we do. We're doing it to heal people. So okay, so they took us to Queen Mary and introduced us to someone, and they were into the paranormal. And we thought, okay, and then we ended up doing paranormal shows and things like that. And then TV people would just call us up out of the blue. I mean, really, it was
isn't it?
It's all orchestrated by the spirit world.
Yeah.
Like phone would ring, and we're like, "Who's this?" Oh, we're a producer up in, and you know, we saw. Oh, okay. We'd like to do. Okay, all right, we'll do it. And of course, we'd suss them out, because some of them, you know, you got to be wary, because some of them are just full of.
We did get on a couple of those.
Yeah, I think you do have to, but I think the spirit world brings them just to test it as well.
So that's really how it operates. I mean, doing the show with Zach, that all was very orchestrated how that came around, because you know, it's just the way the spirit world works.
Yeah,
we never
things like we were sitting at the Queen Mary.
Yeah, we were on the Queen Mary one
having
day,
dinner,
and Zach came and sat right next to me like this, with a whole bunch of people, with his back to me.
Oh, no!
And I just kind of, well, what had happened was I won't get into that, but there was a misunderstanding. So Zach had misunderstood something, and I think that's why he didn't connect with us. There was a misunderstanding. And so we were sitting having dinner on the Queen Mary, and in comes Zach. I said, look who it is. And I was laughing, and he didn't even recognize us, and he sat down right there, and I was like, oh, this is too funny. This is just too funny. So I just kind of swung around and said, hey man. I went, oh, and we just talked for a minute. I said, nice to see you. And then later, another weird thing happened, and then he called us up because he'd been at the Heritage Junction.
And we'd gone with some friends to do an investigation there a while back.
Yeah, and I don't like people telling us what what's going on with them or anything. So we keep ourselves to ourselves. And we went around and we felt a few things and whatnot, and made some connections but we didn't really. We were there just to have a bit of fun with people, weren't we?
The drawing I did.
Oh yeah, she did this drawing there. I forgot. I can't remember it all. Marty did.
Yeah, you always forget what I do.
Yeah, well, I mean,
she's a typical Englishman.
She just does these little doodles, know.
I drew a man that was actually one of the owners of one of the houses there.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can't remember it all. So we've done so much. So
and it's great, isn't it, when you've done that much that you can't remember what's happened.
If you'd have waterboarded me, I couldn't have told you what happened when we went there the first time. I couldn't have told you. I'd have died. Like, I don't know.
There's a guy there had talked to Zach, because Zach said, was going to do an investigation there, and the guy that was the tour guide or something there told him about us, and he said that he followed me around with his EMF. Is that it?
Yeah, he was a big skeptic. He didn't believe in it, but his little EMF detector just kept going crazy around her. And he said it sort of made you leave her, he said, So Zach says to this other guy, this friend of his, hey, who were those mediums? And he says, oh, that's the Parrys. And he went, oh, well, we got to have them here then, see?
So that was the first time.
That was how that happened. So, that's kind of how.
It is mad though how the TV shows come knocking though, isn't it? And
and
I want to bring you on to the Halloween case, the psychic investigators, because I watched that, and literally I watched it on YouTube and I was absolute gobsmacked. This is amazing.
Yeah, that it's very heartbreaking, very intense, awful thing. I mean, I remember after we finished and we did another, I think we went up, I can't remember, we went back up for some reason, and we
did the Japanese one.
Yeah, but it wasn't that.
It was a 2-part documentary series, like on the murder, wasn't it?
Well, it's not 2 parts. It's actually one whole thing. It's split in 2, I guess.
Because it was long.
Because it's hard to find. I don't know if the only place I can find it is on YouTube, and it's in 2 bits. So I took a stab.
Yeah, but I did watch it, and to be honest with you, I was in awe. And that's why I was so excited to speak to you both, because the things that you were picking up and the things that you were drawing, Marty, as well, were just phenomenal. And
let's talk about it. So what happened was, initially, we were doing a session with someone, a daughter of a lady that we knew, and all this stuff was coming up about murdered, stabbed girls, blah, blah, blah. A lot of stuff she just wasn't understanding. I was so frustrated. And
I was drawing a young girl.
And she drew a young woman. And some things made sense to her. Anyway, we get a call back from her. Her friend, who she knows, is one of the surviving 3 girls.
And that was one of the girls that I drew.
And I'd been talking to her grandfather or something.
Okay.
The surviving girls, but she didn't know any of that. See, so she finds out, oh my God, he said this. And he said, oh, that's my granddad. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we called her up, and it was an unsolved case at the time. And I said, I'll work with you. We'll, because the spirit girls wanted me to solve this. That he's a psychic. We've got to get him. And
And luckily the detective on the case was open to working with us.
Yeah.
He was so cool.
Yeah, he was. So the first time we did it, I had a stinking cold. I was so sick. And we're on the phone. He's up in Northern California there. And the main girl, what's the main girl's name?
Allie.
She was the best communicator. I think she's got blonde hair, doesn't she? Anyway, she came through. Oh my gosh. She's telling me every place she got stabbed. She's telling me, like, she's describing the whole house to me.
Yeah, because she described the windows, didn't she?
Oh, yeah.
She lid on the windows that were his, the blue fibers.
She says the house looks like this when you look at it. There's a kitchen to the left, the doors to the right. There's a window in between, and it opens up like this. She told me there are blue fibers on the window from where he climbed in through the window. Then
and this was before we even went to the house.
I hadn't left the house yet. I mean, this is in our house, in our home. So the detective was cool. He was listening a lot, you know. And I said, oh, there's a woman detective in there, and she couldn't stay in there. She had to leave, she said. And that's when the surviving girl who was in on it with him says to him, is that true? And he says, yeah, she couldn't stay in there. It made her ill.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm getting a bit emotional right now.
It is heartbreaking though, isn't it? Because I've watched that and I got a little bit choked up when I watched it because it was just like,
it's
like harrowing.
Intense, yeah. I couldn't even remember everything I said to him because when he comes down, when he said, oh yeah, I felt the handrail, you know, I didn't even remember saying that. I was like, wow, I said that? Wow. But she's told me, like, when you go upstairs, there's a room to the right, room to the left. I was in the room with her and the doors hung on this side. I mean, she told me, she said there's a bloody handprint on the wall. That's his. Now, this isn't in there. This isn't in the, there's a bloody handprint on the wall, which is his blood. Then I knew that he'd been cut, that he'd sustained an injury, you see.
Yeah.
The knife was described to me exactly. It was a switchblade thing. Serrated. He couldn't verify that at that time. There's a boot print in the blood on the floor in the bedroom. That's his footprint. There's a heel print on the staircase, which is his. There's blood splats outside on the porch, which is every bit of blood that they mentioned was his blood. How she was stabbed, the first girl, she was stabbed first. There was a tremendous fight put up by Allie. She was talking about how she fought him. Anyway, so we ended up going back up there. We did 2 phone sessions, and then we ended up in up near San Francisco. And it just so happened that he was there the next day, and we said, well, look, we'll drive from where we are and we'll meet you and we'll do another session. So we met him and the chief of police, and they sat in, and the surviving girl, and we did a session. We still haven't been to the house yet. So I said, well,
that's why I drew the second picture.
That's where you drew the second.
That's why I drew the murderer, didn't I?
You drew the murderer then, yeah. So
because I drew the other girl on the phone.
Yeah, that's right. So more detail came up. I said, okay. Behind the house is where he parked his truck, I said. And then he went, this is how he came in, and this is where he came out, and he got in the truck, and all this stuff they told me.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went down here and up this way, and then off this road at an angle, and they're looking at each other, and I said, and that's the freeway entrance. I said, oh, I don't know. So he brings a map out, and I looked on the map, and I said, okay, he goes here, and he goes here, and he goes up. And I showed them the exact route for about 50 miles. And he said, where you pointed, where the truck was, is where the tracker dogs immediately went to that spot. And
Wow.
then we went in the vehicle with the tracker dogs and traced the exact route you just showed us for 50 miles, and we lost the scent. Okay, so years later, we did another episode for a Japanese film crew that wanted to do the same thing but for Japan. And we went up there and we got to meet the detective again, who we hadn't seen for 10 years.
Wow.
In fact, we hadn't really had any connection with him apart from doing that. So after they were done, because they were all kind of a bit skeptical, they wanted to keep us apart until they were all done. And we got to meet him. And I was like, hey, man, it's like, you know, how you doing? You know, and we got chatting. And I had a bunch of questions, you know, because I hadn't really talked to him. So I said, so I've got some questions. What? Oh, that's right. One of the things they told me was that when he was driving up the freeway, he went over a bridge and he wound the window down and he threw the knife in the river when he went over the bridge. I said, that's what he did with the weapon. That's where he put it. So he tells me that he did a 4-hour interview with him when he finally
with the
murderer when he'd given himself up, which nobody knows. He even has offered to share it with me, but I would never share it with anyone.
No.
And one of the questions he had for him is, what did you do with the weapon? And he did exactly what I said he did. He threw it in the river through the window, like when he went over a bridge. And I said, wow, that's cool.
Another thing that I found out when we were at the house, I was standing outside near the window that Michael,
by the front door there.
By the front door. And I said,
you saw these little like buttons. What you?
Yeah, I thought I saw little white buttons all over the place. That didn't make sense. I just said little white buttons. Well, the way they actually caught him was the DNA off of the cigarette butts.
Wow.
So there were like several cigarette butts, and of course she probably heard buttons, but you see what I mean? Butts, yeah. So and then anyway, I found out from the detective that he was actually intending to torture the girls before he killed them. That's how evil this guy is. So I was absolutely certain in my mind that this wasn't some random,
no,
you know, this guy was an absolute psychopath. I mean, I knew it, and I had to do this. I just had to get this guy, because
was he actually known to the girls?
What? Oh, well,
was he known to them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was one of the things that came up.
We both knew that.
Yeah, I told the detectives. They know this guy. He's like a friend. He got completely overlooked. I said, I see him with wrenches and stuff, and he's like, I thought maybe he was a mechanic. Well, he was over at their house fixing their washing machine with wrenches.
It was one of the girls' best friend's boyfriend at the time. And the reason he was...
How he got overlooked, I don't know.
Yeah. The reason for the murder really was that the two girls were going to go on vacation without him. They weren't, you know, before they got married and everything.
Well, Ali thought he was...
Yeah.
And want to get her away from him.
Yeah.
You know?
So before they left, he wanted to get rid of them.
Yeah,
because he
hated them. He wanted to kill.
He was jealous of their friendship.
Their friendships, and you know that bond is unbreakable, really, isn't it? And you know, regardless of what people say, it's just a crime that you would never ever even imagine, would you? In a month of Sundays, that you know, somebody murdering two girls in cold blood,
Halloween night.
Yeah, on Halloween, which is probably
to cover it, to cover up, you know, because screaming. There's a screaming. It's Halloween. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I watched that, and it was unreal. It was unbelievable what I witnessed. But looking at your website, and obviously going back to your drawings and your testimonies from people, Marti, who have said to you, you know, your drawings are second to none, and the photographs that they've provided that are on your website are just simply, there is no difference, is there?
No,
Not
no,
really.
and we haven't got some of the even. I mean, there's some really good ones. That we haven't
It's
even
funny
posted
though
on
how
there,
people
you know.
don't recognize who it is a lot of times in the very beginning. one time we were in a group, Michael held up one of the pictures I drew, and he says, and I get the name Shirley. This lady in the back stands up, oh, my Aunt Shirley just died and everything. And it's like, that doesn't look a thing like her.
But that doesn't look like Shirley. I'm like, really? Well, she sent us a picture. It's like a freaking mirror image of it. It's like, you're kidding me, it's Shirley. Yeah. Anyway.
But it is madness, though, isn't it? How people, you know, you will give a reading to somebody and you'll be describing their attributes and you'll be describing how they look, and they're constantly saying, no, I can't take that. I can't take that. And then all of a sudden they'll call you up and they'll be like, actually, I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember. I have it so often.
Idiots. I just think, well, you're an idiot because you don't know. I do.
Well, that's one thing too. That's one thing too, is that we always tell people to record the session, because a lot of things that Michael says you're not going to know right away. Names, you know, you'll find out later, and we get it all the time. You know, oh, you said this, and I was thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, I always tell people if they're going to record it, write it down or whatever, because 9 times out of 10, I never ever remember what I've said ever. And it's just something, I think spirit just does that.
You don't remember.
I only remember it if it's really something unique that I think that was cool, you know. Oh, that's a neat little, like my favorite things are the out of left field stuff that they have no idea about, that is so cool, you know, like at our house here one time we had this lady. I'm looking over, I see her dad. I said, oh, your dad's here? No, she said. I said, yeah. No. I said, he looks pretty dead to me. I said, he's standing right there.
It looks pretty dead.
I said that to her. I said, well, he looks pretty dead. I said, I asked him like how he died. He said, I was an alcoholic. I said, your father's an alcoholic? Well, yeah. Well, how do you know he's not dead? I said, you haven't talked to him for 20 years. He told me, he said, she hasn't talked to me for 20 years. I said, well, yeah. I said, so how do you know I'm not talking to him? Well, somebody would have told me. And it went on like this for about 10 minutes. I was arguing with her. Like, how do I convince her, you know? I said, you've got a sister, don't you? He says, she has a sister. And then he says, Margaret. I said, no, okay. Is your sister Margaret? No, but you have a sister though, right? Yeah. Oh, I was getting so frustrated. I was like, oh, God, you know, what is this wrong with this woman? So I looked over and I said, who else can I talk to here? And I saw her mother. So I said, okay, I'll talk to your mum. So we just talked to her mother for the rest of the time. She walks out my door at the end. She was happy because I talked to her mother. About 5-10 minutes goes by, there's a knock on the door. She just found out because she talked to her sister. Her sister got a call from a lady called Margaret, who was a friend of her father's, that he had died 6.5 hours ago.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I love.
And that's just something that you cannot write, can you? You cannot
make that up.
You can do that. And somebody in the chat room as well, Gina, her name's Gina Hill, and she's saying, I still tell the story of my experience with you guys all the time.
No.
So I don't know whether you know Gina.
I'm a visual person, so names, I mean, I hear a million names, so it's like, oh.
Yeah, and the Game of Thrones, it doesn't.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones, I'm not sure that, you know, that was a picture of a dog on their website, like, okay, you know, or a kangaroo, I call her Skippy. Well, it's like, I don't know who you are, you know.
She's English, she knows who Skippy is.
Skippy the bush kangaroo.
People
right?
here don't understand.
Well,
So
thank you, Gina.
what have you guys got coming up in the future?
Oh, I don't know.
We're sort of,
Can't do a damn thing at the moment. Can't
we
do it.
had to cancel all our groups.
I've done no groups since
California
January.
is terrible. You know,
And I do groups with like, 80, 90 people. And I can't do anything right now. Can't hold a group.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So all we're doing right now is phone and Skype sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the norm at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we would have had this festival in England. We would have had a physical festival with people coming in and presentations, but we've had to do it virtually. But you know what? I think it's been such a massive success, and we've got people from all over the world who've joined us, and that is what's amazing when you bring the spiritual world together, and we've got people from all over watching and interacting and wanting to ask questions and find out who people are and what they've done. I just find it just
I think
truly...
even after it opens up, the combination of the two would work great to have it both online and in person.
Yeah, I think it's the way forward. And I think it's normal day-to-day life now. Like my day job, I used to spend a lot of time on the road, and now I'm doing Teams meetings, I'm doing video calls constantly. And I think that's just the way of the world is going now. I think it's technology, we're technology bound, aren't we?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know what the future holds as far as all that goes, because it's all changing so quick.
Actually, we found that by Skype or phone, the private sessions actually work out a little bit better because you're not worried about any of the person's own energy. It's because sometimes when they sit with you, they're all nervous or they're all just wishing grandma come through, and you don't get that so badly on Skype or the phone. So we might keep the private sessions like that.
I don't know. I like I could do this anywhere in the world, just right where we are. I mean, all this you have to be in the person's presence and all that. No, it doesn't make any difference. They're standing with us.
Yeah.
They're in our room with us, pulling faces, showing me they got no teeth.
Oh, I know that. I know that feeling. I've driven today for 2 hours, and I've sat there and I've had some lady walking on the beach because I wasn't going to do a live medium reading tonight at all until I spoke to the guys this morning when we did the interview of the hosts. And I just sat there and all of a sudden it was just, my nan said to me, "You have to do this. You have to do this." And I was like, "But I don't really want to." And she was the one that said to me, "You are doing it." And then I got in the car, drove my daughter to wherever she was going, and I got back in the car, and that was it. I've been plagued by a gentleman called Phil, who's quite gaunt with quite a big pointy nose. He had stomach cancer before he passed away, so this is going to come up in shortly anyway. But I've also got a young, like, I know, and I'm sat there, and I tend to go into my own little world. I don't know whether you can relate to this, but I go into my own little, I seem to sort of like not glaze over, and that sounds really weird, doesn't it? But I tend to just think about things, and then I sit there and think, is that me thinking? And I'm like, no. And then I hear that voice saying, "No, we are here. We are talking to you." And I remember meeting my partner, and I mentioned his brother to him, and I'd never met him before. And I explained certain things about his children and things, and he was like, I can't believe you've said that. and just even it's just, I just find it fascinating, and meeting like-minded people like yourselves. I can't draw for toffee, not at all, and I would love to be able to, but we do have a gentleman called Andy Moore who works with us, who draws things. So if you happen to have a look at the Keep Paranormal page, which is the sister page to the Festival of the Unexplained, you will see a live stream that happened on Wednesday night where we spoke to Tasha and some of the things that was happening in her home. Now, things that were said on there, I've never met these people, and I still find it fascinating for the validation. But how does having that validation make you feel when you know that you're right and somebody keeps telling me that you're wrong?
Well, I'm long past that.
Yeah,
actually.
we're so used to it
I
now.
don't care. Honestly, I really don't care. Like if they
well, I
sit
do
there,
like to hear it though, because it's you know.
My only feeling is like, because I remember years ago I sat there and this guy for 45 minutes to 50 minutes, he sat there with his arms crossed, said no to everything I said. And I just kept saying to the spirit, well, this was like when I was first doing it.
And he didn't recognize it.
He didn't recognize it. It just went on and on. And I kept saying to them, he doesn't understand. Don't worry, continue. So I just kept going. And
oh wait, he did. That's the only thing he recognized was the picture. It was
well,
his
anyway,
grandma.
Okay, well, you remember that. I don't. Anyway, he didn't understand anything. So finally, I just thought, cool, blimey, what was all that about? You know, we met him 6 months later. He gives me this cheesy grin and says, I'm sorry, I didn't understand any of it, but my mum understood every single thing you said. I played it to her. I said, oh, great. I'm glad you understood it finally. But at the time, it was like, it was painful. You know, it was like, oh, God.
It is, though, isn't it? You know, because it takes so much energy to be able to communicate with them. And when they constantly get a no, it's not yourself that feels kind of that let down feeling. It's them, isn't it? And even though they're not still here in physical body, they still have those feelings. They still, you know, I've had a woman saying, for crying out loud, tell her it's so-and-so. And it's like, I've just said and I have to say to people now, do you want the no holds barred reading, or do you want me to be softly? And they always like, no holds barred. And I'm like, right, okay then. I said, oh, she's swearing.
We can't do anything.
They only get both barrels of me. That's it. There's no holding back. Yeah. The only time I ever held back only once.
This years ago.
It was a long time ago. And I was in a group with Marty. We had like 60 people. And I was talking to this lady's husband who committed suicide. And he said, that's my wife there. I said, okay. I told her how he died and everything. I said, and then once I knew who I was talking to and everything, you know, I was confident enough with who I was with to say to her, do you want to ask him anything or say anything to him? Oh, and she says, ask him why he did it. I said, okay, what do you want to say? You know, do you want to tell me? Because sometimes they don't want to tell you.
No.
There's not all the time, but, you know, once in a while, there's a reason why they won't or don't want to. But he said, I was having an affair with her best friend. I said, oh, shit. In my mind, I thought, oh, blimey, I'm not going to say that to her.
Can't say that.
Well, it's the only time that I didn't. So I kind of went, oh, you know, he was a very troubled soul. And I kind of went,
you did that.
Around it. I was like, oh, God, you know, I knew exactly why. And anyway, there was another guy. She had like 10 friends with her, see? And there was this one guy, and he says, oh, he's gay. And there's this big guy, and he was a cop. And he laughed and he said, no, it's a joke. He said, we used to sit in the police car and chat, and everybody must have thought we were gay, and it was like a joke with us. I said, oh, I see, he's pulling your leg. Anyway, so the session ends, everybody's leaving, and she sort of was lingering there. And she comes over to me, and I said, listen, I said, don't say anything. I need to ask you something. Just say yes or no. Did you know the answer to the question? Yes. I know why he did it. He was having an affair with your best friend. Yes, she said, I knew. I said, so would it have been all right for me to say that in front of everyone? Yes. I said, okay. That's all I needed to know, because I edited it.
You have to, though, don't you, to save people?
No.
Not anymore. Since that one, we realized anything that
if they tell you, I'll give you another instance where I'll tell you this. We were at a place. There's a guy talking to me, died in an accident. He was in a pickup truck, he told me. And I think it's all right to say this because I don't think these people will be listening or whatever. But he basically, the guy's sitting with his wife in front of me. This is who he's talking to, a husband and wife. And he's insisting that the pickup truck went off the road. He lost control, he said. The tire was blown out, and that's how he died. And the guy says to me, I need to ask him something. Did he fall asleep? And I said, and the guy says, do not say that. Do not say that. I said, no. Tell him I lost control and the tire was blown out, wasn't it? I said, wasn't the tire blown out? He said, yes, it was. The front tire? I said, yes, it was. He said, he lost control. He said, oh, he said, I've been having a bit of a difficult time with it. He said, because he was my pickup truck driver, you know, to pick up cars.
Yeah.
And I realized he didn't mean like a pickup truck. He meant a pickup truck, like a tow truck. And he worked for him and he'd sent him out and it was late. And the guy had actually fallen asleep at the wheel and he was blaming himself because he sent him out. You see?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he left. But
it was the tire that blew out. Though.
The tire was blown out. But Marty says to me, I thought he fell asleep. I said he did, but he wasn't going to tell him that.
So
because he cared about
the only
it.
time that we don't tell people something is when the people on the other side say, don't tell them.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
yeah.
Everything they give to us, we
whatever they say to us, I'm allowed to say to the person, even if they're upset or whatever. Because you see, some things are buried deep in the psyche in people.
Yeah, they need that closure, though, don't they? And you know,
well, they've got to heal the person somehow.
Exactly, and things that we say do heal people, though, don't they? They do give some degree of closure. They might not stop the grieving process, but they have that, you know, that they're there. They know what I'm doing. They know everything about me.
Yeah, it's a step, you know. It's like. Are we done or what's this?
No. Just basically everybody in the chat room keep on saying, will you please come back and take part in our future events? It's been fantastic listening to you. And it's you know, I don't mind running over because we're just running into my time anyway. So we can talk as long as you want to. That's absolutely fine.
Say that, hours.
Well, I think
how do you deal with the emotions, you know, like the emotional side of things? Because obviously for a male and a female, it's totally different because men are able to compartmentalize emotions, whereas females
we're sort of opposite, I think.
No. You know what? When I was young, that medium that told me I was going to come to America, we were chatting one day and he says to me, you're a very emotional person. And I got all affronted over it. I'm like, what do you mean? I said to him, what are you talking about? But he was right. I am. I'm a very sensitive person like that. So, you know, and I've always had problems with that because a lot of gay men were attracted to me. And it's like, I'm not effeminate, you know, I'm just sensitive, you know. And I think, in this field, there are a lot of gay people in this field, you know, and there's very few, I don't meet very many just ordinary guys that are, you know what I mean?
I told him he needed to act like
she said,
gay,
if you were more gay, you'd be more famous. I said, I probably would.
We'd have our own show then.
You know what I mean? Well, I'm just covering some aspects of this, you know, because sensitivity and feeling, I've cried my eyes out with some people. Their husbands come through. I remember this lady in a wheelchair, motorized chair. She came in, she was almost completely paralyzed. And her husband was talking to her. I did 3 sessions with her and he was, you know, apologetic to her and saying how much he cared about her and loved her. And then the 3rd session comes along and he starts telling her that he had this affair with this guy. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe what he was telling me.
Couldn't watch your language.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, don't worry.
Well, you know, Ricky Gervais swears all the time, but I can't. I'm not allowed to. But anyway, the F-bomb comes out sometimes. But, you know, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying all this. But she already knew. She found out. And I was like, oh my God. And we had this bawling session. I was just like holding her hands and just like, you know, getting her through this. Yeah, I've cried so many times with people. I feel the spirit person come in.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm a little more detached.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the male figure here.
I think when I connect with people that do, you know, incredible things, like I've had 2 people come through who fell on grenades to save their friends. And I can't imagine anything more powerful than that as far as love goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it takes your breath away when they come in and they start describing what happened. It's like, oh my God, wow. You know, recently I was on the radio with a guy and talking to the guy that was hosting the show, and one of his friends come through. He'd killed himself to take out the enemy that were coming to get them. You know, he stood back and killed himself, but also to kill the people behind him, things like that.
Yeah.
Incredibly powerful stuff.
It's sad, isn't it? It is sad, and I get choked up, and I sit there and think, should I remain professional or shall I be myself? And I think, you know, going forwards, I'm just going to be myself. Can't be anything else.
All you can do is be yourself, really.
No.
Everybody else is taken.
No. All this. Listen to me. This is one of the things that really, I'd say, irritates me. It bugs the heck out of me, actually, when people say, well, I decide what I'm going to say, or they, you know, and I think, no. If you're a medium, you get out the fucking way.
Yeah, exactly.
Way, you know, I don't hold back on anything. If they want me to do a pole dance, I'll do a goddamn pole dance.
I'd hate to see that.
Yeah, I've got it on video. I've got it on video.
It doesn't do it very well.
The lady that was talking to me one night, very gregarious gal coming through. Her sister was in the audience, and at one point, I mean, she said things like, I thought she said the moon's a balloon, and the sister goes, oh my God, we released balloons and they floated past the moon and we took pictures of it. It's like, oh wow. and then she had me do it. She wanted to dance, so I was like, okay. So I started doing this
with the hand up like that.
Like, what kind of a dance is this? I said to her. And she gets up, she's yelling. She goes, oh my God, she's making you pole dance. She used to pole dance for her husband, you know, she's making you. I was like, oh wow, that's weird. You know, so I'll just let them do whatever. I mean, when Charles Pierce, most famous female impersonator in America, came through one time for this lady, I was in the room with her. I just loved this guy. He called himself Tom. He walked in, he goes, Tom here, say hello.
Well, that was their joke.
That was their pet. That was only between them. His name was Charles.
Mm-hmm. But one time she had told him, if your mother had named you something masculine, like Tom, you probably wouldn't be doing this at all.
And he thought that was hilarious. He thought that how silly and ridiculous that was. So every time they call up, Tom here.
Oh, that's so funny.
And he said, Tom, see, and I just instantly liked this guy because he had such a loving heart. And so I just liked him. I said, you can do whatever you want, mate. So I grabbed a chair. I said, he's like he dresses up as women. I said, and he got this chair, and I sat with the chair like this, and he was doing Marlene Dietrich. It was my Marlene Dietrich. And then he got out, and there was a mop in a bucket. And I went over and I grabbed the mop, and I was strutting around with like it's a microphone, you know. And I had no idea really who this guy was, but he did Carnegie Hall with the presidents and all these famous people, and he did Betty Davis and all this. And it's like, and my mind was blown. She says she sent me this video afterwards of Charles Pierce. She said, that's who you were talking to. She said, I don't know what to call what happened. She said, it's like possession, obsession. You were Charles Pierce for the whole hour. She said, it was amazing.
He does let, as long as somebody he feels really comfortable with, he'll let them.
There are some people
over.
you wouldn't let drive your car, right?
Yes.
Right. You're like, nah, you sit there, I'll drive, you just chat. Well, and there are other people I'm like, yeah, okay, you can have the wheel. Okay.
That happened once when we did one of the shows on Ghost Adventures.
Oh yeah.
One of the victims,
Dorothy Puente house,
took over.
Yeah, that was fun actually. He was
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because somebody actually mentioned that question, but we were talking about something totally
what did they ask? What did they say?
It was quite a way back actually. They were saying something about, just bear with me. Let's have a look. Somebody said, I can't believe you got a chance to shove Zach off the Queen Mary. I'm just going really far back. There's been so many comments.
Back. Well, in the Dorothy Puente house, of course, we didn't know we had no idea where we were. They blindfolded us at the hotel, so we had no idea where they were taking us.
It was Leslie Wilcox who said this. She says, I remember the episode of Ghost Adventures that you both appeared in, Dorothea Puente, and the one of the aeroplanes, excellent mediumship, she put.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a few things we can talk about that don't appear on the show. So at one point where I was standing in the hallway at Dorothy Puente's house, we'd gone into all the rooms where she'd actually cut everybody up, that room right by the kitchen there. I couldn't stay in that room for more than a few minutes. I went in there and I just couldn't stay in there. I said, oh, and I kind of left the room. And then I was standing there, and that's when I let Albert. See, when he first talked to me, I thought his name was Albert, because I heard Albert, and he wouldn't let me say Albert, and I couldn't write Albert. So I said, well, I thought you were Albert. And so I knew he was Al, so I wrote down Al, but it turned out his name was Alvere Berti.
Wow.
And he said it so quickly to me, I thought he said Albert, Alvere Berti.
Something like that,
see? So anyway, I was okay with him. He was okay. So I just let him, I thought, well, I'll just let him take over. Let's see what happens. And he was in me, like, superimposed on me. He was in me. And I was staring down at the floor, and he was looking at his body, where she dragged his body in. So his body must have been laying right there. And Zach, what are you looking at?
Did she chop his arms off by any chance? I've never seen this episode.
No, I never got into that.
As you're talking to me, I feel like somebody's just like strewn an axe down straight on my arms.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened to him. I don't know. So I was just he was staring at where his body had been, where the wall, just by where there used to be a wall. And Zach says, what are you looking at? I said, my body. And Zach goes, who's saying that? It just made me laugh. I thought, what a funny reaction. Doesn't he?
A lot of comedy value though, every now and again.
It just made me laugh. I found it amusing. So and then of course as a carpenter, I was staring at the floor, and I thought, why am I looking at the floor? Well, there was a wall there. Where's the wall? He said to me. Well, he was me, and I was, where's the wall? And I'm thinking myself in the background, I'm going, what wall? There's no wall there. I'm looking at the floor like, I can't see where a wall's been. And it's like, there was a wall there. Where's the wall? And I'm like, so it was stuff like that,
Oh, tell about the one at The
airport. The airport was really cool.
Because there was a lot.
There was a lot there.
They didn't put in.
One of the people that connected with me, who I really, really felt full on, was a man. He was bald on top, white hair around the sides, and what was his name? I can't remember his name. He said, "Oh God, it'll come to me in a moment." He said, Henry, that's right. He said, "My name's Henry." And he told me that he was one of the main people at the airport, like the main guy. He sort of built the place. And of course, I still had the blindfold on, so I had no idea where I was. I thought I was in some sort of warehouse. It felt huge and like a warehouse to me. That's what it felt like. I said, well, I don't know where this is, but this Henry, he's the founder or builder or whatever this place is. And he said hello to them. He said, he's saying hello to you guys, and blah, blah, blah. Well, the sound man, the guy that does the sound on the show, I can't remember his name. Steve, is it? I can't remember his name.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Can't remember.
Well, he got into it, and he got on his phone after we were done, and he found out that Colonel Henry Happ for Happy, blah, 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 was the main guy that built that airbase.
Wow.
He was the protege of the founder of the United States Air Force. And Happ was the third person to be trained by the Wright brothers, which was, they had an exhibit of the Wright brothers in that exact location. And
yeah.
I was like, wow, I could have had a long chat with him, but it's like, I wish I could have had more of a conversation, because I thought that was amazing, that the guy that built that airbase really was there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
It is mad though, isn't it? When TV shows, you get so much information, then they cut.
I know. Cutting room floor. I'm like, why didn't they include that? When we went to the silent movie theater, which sadly they've not show that episode anymore because something to do with the guy that was at the thing. But that was a really good episode. And when we were sitting at the front there, and I sat in that exact spot where they'd seen the light source on that, and I sat in that exact seat, and they said, why'd you sit there? And I said, because that's where he sits.
Yeah.
And I looked around, and I was staring back at where the projection thing was, and this isn't on the show. And Zach says, what are you looking back there for? I said, well, there's John or Jim back there. Well, John was the former owner, and Jim was the guy that killed the second owner, and he was a projectionist.
Oh.
But they never included that. So I was like, wow, I got both names straight away.
And yeah, they don't include it.
I know.
That makes me laugh though, because he says, I'm sensitive, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. And then he's like, why are you looking up there?
I know. Isn't that funny?
Well, I just found it.
Love it.
The fun bit about that was like,
I love watching his face.
Yeah, I just like watching his face. I just like watching their reactions. It's just that's
comedy though, isn't it? The comedy value is fantastic.
He was in there, you know, and I was sitting there, and the what's his name, the actor.
Oh, Douglas Fairbanks.
Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Yeah,
that's the one I drew on that one.
Yeah, so he was talking to me, and he said, "Let's have a bit of fun here with Zach."
It's neat when I draw the same person that he's talking to, because that doesn't happen all the time. Because I put on earphones, so I can't hear anything that.
Yeah, she has no idea what I'm talking about.
Which works.
So Zach's standing there, and he said, "I'm going to see if I can get Zach to do something, to feel something." I said, "Okay." So I wrote down. He said something about moving the legs, rubbing the legs. Rubbing the legs. I said, okay, you can do something with his legs, are you? He said, yeah. So I said to Zach, I wrote it down. I said, so what are you feeling? He said, well, I feel like running. I chuckled because I realized he meant run the legs, not rubbing. I said, oh, okay, well, go ahead then. And he ran up the thing. And then we find out afterwards that Douglas Fairbanks Jr., under his house, built a tunnel 100 yards long because he liked to run naked.
Little tidbit that you probably never knew.
Now, if Zach had thrown all his clothes off and run out there, would have been perfect, wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
All the girls watching it would have loved it.
Oh, it's been so wonderful speaking to you both. I've had such an amazing hour and 10 minutes with you. It's a shame that we've got to kind of cut this short.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
No, thank you so much for joining us. And I really hope that you do come back on the Carry On Chatting as well, because we do another live stream on a different page called Keep On Chatting, which is the Keep Paranormal. So I truly wish that you can come back on there and you know, become a few more household names here in the UK again, because you're just such a lovely, warm couple. It's just so lovely to speak to you.
Oh, thanks very much. We'd love to.
Maybe we'll look up one day when we manage to fly on a plane again.
Yeah, and do you know what? You're more than welcome anytime. It's so nice to connect with people who are very, very much the same sort of mindset. You've just got an unbelievable sense of humble. I just find you really warm and really homely, and yeah, it was lovely. And Philly Ghost Hunt said was great. Really enjoyed it. So, and
thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.
The comments that we've had throughout the whole of this is that you're such a wonderful couple. The work you do is amazing, and people just want you to come back and talk to us again. So, you know, I would really love that. But I wish you all the love, and I hope that you get out soon enough and you guys are back on our TV screens very soon in the future.
Oh, thanks.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
No worries. But I will love you and leave you.
Likewise.
Oh, I know. I've got loads of people sitting here now going, crack on.
I'm going to listen to you too. So.
Oh, thank you. And I may actually, it's really strange because as you was talking, there was a gentleman who was flitting in and out behind Michael. And he was literally a little bit of a live wire, a little bit of a ball of energy. Now, I don't know whether he's one of your guides, Michael, or whether he's not, but he was like literally flitting, and you could see it on the computer because the computer kept like darting. And I was like, what's going on? But I just want to say to you, there is something a little bit bigger coming up for you. And I know being a medium, it comes... For me saying it to another medium, I always think to myself, oh God, I sound like an idiot.
You do it for yourself.
It's hard for yourself.
But I see you writing. I don't just see you doing TV shows. I see you writing quite a bit. So I don't know whether you've got something down on paper at all at the minute, but I see you doing quite a bit of writing. So whether you want to deliver some sort of a training, or I don't know, I know you do development things like that, but I think I see it on a much wider scale. I don't know whether you can take that, but that's...
Well, yeah, I'm not. I'm just a terrible writer. So it's like I've been... I think I use
somebody who isn't, though.
Yeah.
The very silent assassin, as I want to call her. She's but it will take over, so please just watch where that comes about, won't you?
All right, cool.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
no worries. So I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'm going to jump on this other live stream, and I hope I talk to you soon.
Yeah,
right,
likewise.
bye-bye.
Yeah, let's stay in touch.
Good. God bless. Take care,
sweetheart. Thank you.